from San Francisco, California, this is the Rock and Roll Geek Show. This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Saturday, August 26, 2017, and it is 9 a.m. That's actually 8:59 a.m. when I'm recording this episode. This is day 27 of the Dog Days of Podcasting, where me and a bunch of other podcast nerds attempt to do a show a day for the entire month of August. And speaking of podcast nerds, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee for the Rockin' Pod Expo. Chris from the Decibel Geek podcast organized this thing. I think Chris and BJ Cramp from the Cheap Talk podcast and Rock and or Roll. A bunch of people. Those are the two main guys who organized this thing. Anyway, pardon me. Yes, there's a cough button, and why am I not using it? I don't know, because it's too early in the morning. So those guys organized this thing. It is an event for rock and roll podcasts, and we're all organizing today at 11 a.m. And everybody's going to sit around in this big room called the Music Valley Event Center. I think that's what it's called. And everybody's going to sit there, and I guess we're going to do podcasts and meet people who want to see rock music podcasts, and there's going to be a bunch of vinyl vendors there, and some, I guess you could call them rock stars, although I don't recognize many of the names other than Sandy Gennaro, who played with Joan Jett, and some other people who was actually in this band that I saw last night. That's what I'm going to talk about right now. So yesterday, after I did the Dog Days episode in the lobby of the place where I'm staying, the Inn at Opryland. We're right near the Grand Ole Opry. Joy Rock and Roll came on, and after that I went and met all these other podcasters. I met the guys from the Kiss FAQ podcast. I met Ken Mills from the Cheap Talk podcast, great guy, and I met BJ Cramp, the Talking Metal guys, Mark Striegel, his wife, and John Astronomy, or John Ostrowski, I'm not sure which name he's going by, but those are great guys. And were any of the Decibel Geek guys there? I don't think they were, but anyway, I met some other podcasters. Then headed out to go eat because Michael Street was one of the donors. Friend of the show, Michael Street, was one of the donors. He contributed a bunch of money to this GoFundMe account to make this thing happen. He paid money to go out to eat with me, so I would take him out to dinner. Actually, him and his wife, if he has a wife. I don't think he does, though. Took him out to dinner, bought some beers. So dinner and beers were on Michael Butler. So met with him. We went to this place called Edley's Barbecue. Good barbecue place. My friend Neil Smith and his wife Michelle and their kid Evan. Neil Smith used to play in Stevie Soletta with me. He lives out here now in Murfreesboro, so he met up with us. John, my stepdad, drove us and had a good barbecue dinner. Then we went to the Bluebird Cafe to check out, it was this show Nashville. Martina and I, it was one of our guilty pleasures, which we would watch together. So we went to the Bluebird Cafe. We were going to go in there and watch some songwriters perform. It was at capacity, so we couldn't get in. So I just took a picture of that place. Then we headed over to the Cobra dive bar. Pardon me, I need to cough. Okay. Yeah, the Cobra, a dive bar not too far from where we're staying. And on the bill was headlining The Tip, one of my favorite new bands. As a matter of fact, Chris from Decibel Geek podcast booked that he booked all right, let me backtrack a little bit. This event was the official Rockin' Pod Expo pre-party. This was booked by Chris from the Decibel Geek podcast, and he booked The Tip as the headliner specifically because Michael Butler loves The Tip so much. So he called The Tip and said, hey, this one podcast guy really loves you guys, and I'd like for you guys to headline this thing. So The Tip was the headliner. Opening band was, or actually the support band was this band called Denman, which I heard were really, really good. And opening was this band, was a Bad Company tribute band called Desolation Angels. So we got there about halfway through, or no, probably about a quarter of the way through Desolation Angels set. You had to buy beers in the front bar in another room. Nashville has this really weird law. They have to card, if you're buying everybody a beer, they card everybody at the bar. So they don't card you when you're walking in this place. They card you at the bar, and even in the barbecue place. I wanted to order 3 beers, for me, John, and Michael Street. I had to go back to the table, get everybody's ID, bring it to the bar, show it to the bartender, and then she would serve me 3 beers. So I had to do that everywhere we've gone so far, including the hotel bar. So anyway, we got our beers, went inside. Desolation Angels were already playing. I was not expecting much from a Bad Company tribute band, but man, these guys sounded fucking amazing. They had this guy singing who sounded better than Paul Rodgers. He didn't really have the same style of voice as Paul Rodgers. He was a little bit more high range. He was a great front man, great singer, got the crowd going, and this guitar player, what's his name? Something Van Zandt. Maybe Steve Van Zandt? Man, that might have been his name, but it wasn't little Steve Van Zandt. I don't know. But the guy was a ripping guitar player and great tone. And they had this big fat dude on bass who was a ripping bass player. Those Bad Company bass parts are not easy. And then that guy Sandy Gennaro on drums, and I don't know what the singer's name was. Sandy Gennaro, monster drummer. So they had a first-class band all the way, and they were rocking out these Bad Company covers. They sounded better than Bad Company, way more hard rock and energetic. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed them. And after them came Denman. Oh, when I was there, I saw a couple of the guys from the Tip in the audience, and you could, in the crowd, the drummer and mainly the drummer and the singer/guitar player. Those guys are bona fide rock stars. I mean, they just carry themselves like rock stars across the room, and they dress like rock stars, and they had groupies or like their girlfriends looked like 70s groupies. These guys had it all down. They looked so cool. So you could tell the vibe of rock and roll with these guys. Did not look like posers at all. They just looked like the real deal rock and roll guys. So anyway, saw those guys. I didn't say anything to them. I had tried to get them on my show before, and it was a pain in the ass, and they came up with all these demands of limits and this and that. And I thought, it's too much trouble. I'm not going to do that. So anyway, up next came Denman, and I had heard that the singer for Denman, also guitar player, was the new guitar player for the Tip. Because the bass player, the former guitar player for the Tip, Ricky Dover, is now playing bass for the Biters. And I was a little bit, I had seen pictures of the Tip at Rocklahoma, and they didn't look as cool without Ricky Dover. Ricky Dover has this Joe Perry look about him, and he has a blonde streak in his hair, and he's ripping, a great blues bass guitar player. And that's some of my favorite things about the Tip was this guitar player. And I had seen pictures of the Biters now on tour with Ricky Dover on bass, and he kind of didn't fit the Biters to me. So anyway, and this kid from Denman dresses metal. He wears like tight black, he dresses like Metallica did when they were first starting out, with the big white shoes and a denim vest. So he kind of didn't fit in the pictures of the Tip either way. So anyway, up comes Denman. They sounded amazingly tight, and they sounded like early Metallica. The Denman kid, shredding on guitar and singing, played a Gibson Explorer. I don't know if it was a Gibson, but it was an Explorer type guitar. The other guitar player also dressed like James Hetfield, another shredding guitar player. He's playing like Charvel or something like that, and I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to what he was playing. Good bass player. The bass player looked super cool. The bass player looked like he should have been in the Tip. He was a super tall dude, slung his bass down low, and looked really cool. he fit fine with Denman, but he looked like he would fit more with the Tip. He looked like a rock star kind of guy. And drummer, standard double bass metal drummer. They sounded amazing. Not really my cup of tea because I'm into more of the rock and roll, but they sounded great. Crowd loved them. I mean, absolutely loved them. They kind of went over probably the best. After that, the Tip comes on. By then, I'm about, I don't know, Michael Street and I are buying each other drinks and talking metal guys, or Mark Striegel's wife was buying drinks and back and forth the drinks, and I'm probably about 10 Coronas in and I'm feeling pretty good. The Tip comes on. The place had kind of emptied out a little bit, but once they started playing, the place filled back up. The singer for the Tip, great performer, played a flying V, natural on stage, got the crowd going. Bass player, he's fine, kind of blends in the background. He's just kind of nondescript. He's decent, and I'm sure he's a decent bass player, but he didn't look like the rock star of like the guitar player, like the singer, guitarist, and the drummer did. The drummer was wearing all white. It looked so fucking badass, and he was a great drummer. And then the guy from Denman, wearing the exact same clothes he wore on stage with Denman, was the new guitar player for the Tip. They sounded great. Something was different though. The guy, every time it went into a solo, this Denman kid was playing lead guitar, and it looks like they were great friends. They were all getting along, and he you know, personality-wise, I'm sure he gets along great with the band. He played the songs great, played them fantastic, as a matter of fact. But when it came down time for the solos, they sounded like metal guitar solos instead of solos that the Tip usually plays, which are more bluesy, bluesy with balls and attitude guitar solos. So they were good, but the whole time I'm watching this, I'm just thinking, these guys need that Ricky Dover guy back in the band really bad. And somebody needs to tell these guys, if they don't already know. I have a feeling that they do know, even though they like this guy, this Denman. I think his last name is Denman. I don't know anything about the band Denman, so I'm speaking out of my ass here. But I could get a sense that the guys in the band know that this guy is not really the right guy for them, even if he fits. Even if they get along with him, great personality, which is very important to have a guy in a band who you get along with and is your friend. But the guy just doesn't. He doesn't fit. If I was a record label guy or whatever, but I'm not. I'm just a stupid idiot who does a podcast. I would tell these guys, listen, this guy ain't the right guy for you guys. He's a great guitar player, but you need to do what you got to do to get this guy Ricky Dover back in the band. Or else you need to find another Ricky Dover, because this guy is not the right guy for the Tip. That's just my views. And plus, I think that Ricky Dover guy was the main songwriter for the Tip. I could be wrong on that as well, because I'm not looking at the Tip credits. But they were good. I'm glad I saw them. I would have bought a T-shirt if they had them for sale, but they didn't. So and the whole time I'm just thinking to myself, this guy's not right for the band. I really wish that Ricky Dover guy was back in the band. So there you go. That's what happened last night. Came back to the room, had a good time. It was a fun rock and roll show, and there were lots of cute girls in the audience, and all the girls in the audience looked like 70s rock groupies. It was a great rock and roll vibe in this room, and it looks like they have a really good rock scene here, which makes me kind of sad for San Francisco, because our rock music scene sucks ass, as you may or may not know. But this was looked like it was a thriving rock and roll scene. I enjoyed it a lot. Every musician I've seen playing in this town so far, be it country music or rock, they're all great. It seems like everybody just has talent in this town, which says a lot about a town. I guess, Nashville, what can you expect? But wow, I like the music scene here from what I've seen. So it was a great rock and roll show. Came back to the hotel. I'm not really ready to go to bed, so I wanted to find some food. There was no place open. Nobody was in the hotel bar. That's because the hotel bar was closed. It was about midnight. So I walked down towards the Nashville Palace, where I had seen a really good country band. There was a good country band playing. but there was no food being served. So then there was another bar down the street that said food served late night and live music. So I went in there, ordered some chicken wings, and had a Corona while I was waiting for the chicken wings. And by this time I'm thinking, well, why did I order these chicken wings? Because I'm wasted now. So I stumbled back to the room with my chicken wings. Did I have enough? I think I stopped drinking at that point. Ate my chicken wings, went to bed, and here I am getting ready for the Rockin' Pod Expo. So there you go. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. I'm envisioning myself sitting at a table by myself, staring at the wall, watching a bunch of podcast nerds stroke each other's egos. So it's a big circle jerk. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm imagining. But I hope I'm wrong. And plus, there's nothing wrong with a circle jerk. It's a fun event. Well, hopefully it'll be a fun event. I'm looking forward to seeing all these other podcasters. The Decibel Geek guys. I met like 3 or 4 Decibel Geek guys. I had no idea that there were so many people involved in making podcasts, but they've gone out of their way to put this thing on, and kudos to Chris from Decibel Geek for handling this thing. So I went up to the singer for that. I was getting a beer at the bar, and the singer for the Bad Company cover band was sitting there ordering a bar, and I just said, "Hey man, you're a great singer," and he just struck up a conversation with me because I was wearing a Van Halen shirt, and he started talking about Van Halen, about when he first saw Van Halen, this and that. And he was from Florida as well. He saw Van Halen on the Never Say Die tour in Lakeland. I saw Van Halen on Doc Sabbath's Never Say Die tour. I saw Van Halen on the same tour, either the day before or the day after, in Jacksonville, Florida. So we immediately bonded. He's supposed to be at this event today. I might have him come on and we'll talk some rock, because he seems like a rock geek as well. So that's the plan for today. Michael Street's supposed to come on and do a show with me. Dave Brewington, I think is his name, from the Burrow podcast, is doing a co-host with me. He paid for one of the perks. And Mark Striegel from Talking Metal is going to co-host with the Rock and Roll Geek Show. So that's the plan for today. I'm going to do 3 podcasts. I'm hoping Stacy Collins comes, her and her husband, Stacy Collins, come in and talk to me for a while. That'll be a 4th podcast. And if the guy from the Bad Company cover band, Desolation Angels, comes, we'll talk a little bit of rock. So that'll be 5 podcasts. So I'm going to do probably at least 3 podcasts today, possibly 4 or 5. And the one I'm doing now makes 6. So I'm going to be a podcasting motherfucker. All right. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to close out with a song from the first Tip album. I think the first Tip album's better than the second, even though the second is good as well. Ricky Dover plays on both of those albums, and listen to the song. You can hear what I'm talking about with the guitar solos. They're bluesy, they're rocking, and the whole band is rocking. So here's the Tip. I'll talk to you later on today, probably, friends. Rock and Roll Geek, you know how to reach me. Find it all at rockandrollgeek.com. Here's the Tip.
Slow down, but I can't, 'cause I'm out of control now. Hey, out of control now, baby. 'Cause I'm out of control now, baby. take it all. You pour me a drink, bitch, I better make it all, yeah. Hey, out of control now, baby. Cause I'm out of control now, baby. Out of control, out of control now, baby. Cause I'm out of control now, baby. And all my life I'm taking the higher road. Well, now I'm out of control.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.